up, everybody? It's another Mix It Up podcast here with your host, Joel Hawkins, as well as my good friend, H. Stone's in the building. It was way more aggressive than you normally do it, which is cool. I like it. Today we're going to be doing BTS, RM, and PHARRELL talk producing in their upcoming collab. This was one of the videos provided on the master list that was given to us. It was like 18 pages, but the little note in the video line was like it's kind of an introspective look at their own, what they've dealt with, what they deal with when it comes to the music industry and such. So yeah, let's take a deep dive into that and check it out. It's 23 minutes long, so y'all will be cool with that. You like the longer stuff for some reason. I don't know why, but it's cool because it just means it takes us longer to film. That's all it means. That's all it means. But let's go ahead and check this out. No.
I'm not sure if you remember it or not, but we've met at
of course,
Billboard Music Awards.
Yes, of
in
course.
2018.
Yeah,
do you remember?
We took a photo.
We took a photo together.
I wanted to work then. First of all, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me as well. I think that there's a huge benefit in writing and producing for other people. I'm pretty sure you may feel that way as well, but it allows me to go to places that I wouldn't go for myself. And as much as it feels like, I may know what I'm doing when I'm doing songs that I'm, featured as a solo artist, some people know, but most people don't know that all of my solo efforts have always been songs that I have written and produced for other people. In fact, when I try to write songs for myself or produce songs for myself, they always are too complex and seem much more like a puzzle than they do, a jam, like a bop. But I do those for other people. So for me, oftentimes my best stuff is the stuff that I poach back for myself. I don't know how it is for you.
In 2005, I was just an elementary school kid, and I just wanted to be a rapper. As I got to know what's rap, it's basically it's rhythm and poetry. I really felt attracted for this whole genre to send the messages to the world. Actually, it's really embarrassing to answer about all this in front of my idol, but. For me, it's really more comfy to Mostly for me, I write somebody's lyrics or the melodies for other artists. Not as many as you, but it feels like it gives me another avatars and characters.
Yes.
So when it comes to me, it's a complex, and it always comes with the pain. To confess. But it's still the most important part for me.
I can relate to that. I think the pain part for me is probably the fun part, because that's like some of the most vivid paint that we can use as artists when we're like filling in what we want to be a powerful verse. It's like, okay, does it hurt enough? Or does it feel good enough? So I understand you there when you say, you inject the pain in your verses to make sure that they're strong. I agree.
I was wondering the creative process, how it's different for you yourself, like In My Mind or Girl, or between the songs you made for the others, like the singers or the rappers, or like clips, grounding, of course. I just wonder the difference, from the scratch.
So when an artist walks in, they ask for something.
Like a track or idea?
They'll say, I just want something hard, or I want something darker, or I want, something that's like for the club, like,
banger.
You know what I'm saying? A banger, and so I'm considering what they're looking for, but I'm also thinking about like the texture of their voice and and the patterns and the melodies that they do usually, then I think about how I can give them something very different than they've ever done before. And so when you mix all of that together, a lot of times, you know, an artist will say, man, that's a little different for me or whatever. And then I'll go ahead and reference it and, you know, sell it to someone else. And then like oftentimes that same person will come back to me and say, man, why didn't you play me that? And I'm like, I did play you that, but they weren't hearing it in that way.
Wow, that's the fun part.
Yeah, that's the fun part. But then there are people who jump out the window and they go ahead and try it. Because my whole thing is just try it. We don't have to put it out.
Right.
But, you know, people are so good at what they do. Sometimes they're afraid to explore different parts of their voice, different parts of their personality, and different parts of their career. So, you know, they're a little like hesitant. But for the ones that do try it, they get to experience something new. And look, if we decide at the end of the day it's just not right for them, it's not right for them.
Right.
But you got to hear a different side. That's my favorite part of writing and producing for other people.
Like a challenging.
Yeah.
Like, so here comes another thing.
Okay.
I started to listen to music. I mean, like the hip hop music in 2005. I started with the Nas and Eminem.
Okay.
Of course, the classics.
Yeah.
But you know, as I get to know you, when I first listened to your song, especially, I just want to point out "Take It Off," because that's my playlist, one of the playlists.
Whoa.
So
that's crazy.
When I listened to it, I even translated into Korean, and I just recorded once when I was I'm amateur.
Whoa.
So you know, when I listened to it, I just always been wanting to have the, you know, frequency, like, you know, because you always cross over this. These days, genre doesn't mean anything, but I think at that time, I think was like, you know, some rappers really criticize the rappers who sing or use the autotunes.
Right.
But I don't know, you started your career as a producer, or so you're like very natural for that. But I always wanted to have the frequency like you. Like, you know, sometimes it's just singing. It could be falsetto. Sometimes you rap. Sometimes you just sang the hook for the other artist, like Snoop Dogg. And so, how do you position yourself when you participate in the song as a player? Like,
wow. First of all, these are great questions.
Thank you.
And no one's ever asked me that. Believe it or not. Like, no, I've never had a journalist ever ask me that.
That really matters to me.
So, and that's like no cap. Like, you, believe it or not, no one's, and it sounds like they could have, and because it's such an obvious question, but no one's ever asked me that. So I'm blown away by that. Everything, I make decisions based off of feeling. I don't make them based off of convention.
I gotta rap, I gotta sing.
Yeah, no, it's just whatever it feels like it needs, and I'm gonna channel it as best as I can, because I'm trying to tell somebody else who's gonna be better than me to do it. And oftentimes what will happen was artists will be like, nah, we want you to stay on there. And I'll be like, no, but it's for this person. But I channel what I feel like is missing. And I forget that it's gonna be me, because if I think that it's gonna be me, then it won't be as good and I won't be as confident. I'm only confident knowing that I am giving the instruction and the directives to someone else. Like, for example, there's a record that I did with Mystical a long time ago called
Mystical.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, Shake Your Ass, right? Ooh. So when I did that record, I was thinking like, you know, writing wise, you know, Chad and I produced it together, but when I was writing that hook, I was pretending that like Eddie Kendricks from the Temptations could do it. And I remember saying to them, oh man, you know, we're gonna get like, you know, we're gonna get you know, the guy from the Temptations to do it. And they were like, nah, the record company wants you to stay on there. I was like, wait, what? So it was like this weird thing where like I started to realize that was my sweet spot, is when I channel other people and I surrender to what the music needs and not let my ego or my feelings get involved. And then I actually make better decisions, whether it's gonna be me on the song at the end of the day or
the
not,
other artist.
or another artist. I filled in the blank and given them a different feeling. And oftentimes, sometimes I would be sharp, you know, when I'm singing on there, but it just felt good, and we would just leave it.
So I'm not sure if you remember it or not, but we've met at
Of course.
Billboard Music Awards.
Yes, of
in
course.
2018.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
We took a
I guess
photo.
they were.
We took a photo together.
I wanted to work then. But I didn't want to be aggressive.
Think they
So I was
cut
like,
it.
oh, let's just take a photo. But
You were nice.
But I really wanted to. I was like, yo, let's leave.
Yeah, that was
I think we
an
took a
intro
photo backstage.
Yeah, backstage in your room actually.
Yeah, and then like I was working in a studio not too far off, and I really wanted to be like, yo, fuck all of this. No, you know what? Let me correct this because I don't want your fan base to be mad at me using this kind of language. But man, I was like, man, I wanted to be like, listen, let's leave here right now and go make some great music because I just loved everything that you guys were doing. I love your energy and I love what it is that you represent. At such a time when, our Asian brothers and sisters and fellow Asian human beings that maybe don't identify necessarily binarily in a binary way, the Asian community has just been going through so much
these days. Yeah,
and
gradually more and more.
The Asian community has given me so much, and I really feel like y'all's energy. You're also showing like artist not just like not just in one specific genre, but I think you're just like also showing people that like you don't have to be, you can be humble. You guys, your energy is there's a lot of humility that you all vibrate. I think that's a great energy. What people don't realize is like when you have, literally, hundreds of millions of fans and you encounter them 20 and 50 and 100,000 at a time.
I can't notice a single face, It's just a mess.
It's
MAS. That's not a.
It's a mass.
It's a mass.
And it is a massive voice, and it is a massive, using that word mass, it is a massive energy coming at you. And you say jump.
And then they jump.
And they jump. And you sing, and they sing every word.
Right.
And you know that you can feel through their voices that so many of their lives have been affected and changed because of something that you've done.
That's what I believe.
I don't know how you do that, because I've had a couple songs do that, and then when I get out there and go sing it, that would make me cry because it was too much of a responsibility. Every time I get that close to that size and what I do as a musician, I always step back.
Oh, why? It's like, is it too heavy?
It's too heavy, man.
Too much?
It's too much of a responsibility. That's why I really revere people like yourself and your band members and other artists like B and J and like, man, what y'all go out there and go face every night on that stage. It is humbling and it's overwhelming, and sometimes your nervous system got to be built for that.
Of course.
Let me ask you this: how do you deal after you come off the stage feeling electrified and shocked every night? How do you decompress, or do you decompress, or do you purge? Like, how do you do that?
It's my first performing was in front of like 10 people in some small clubs when I was like 15.
Okay.
And I like forgot most of the lyrics. So at that time, I just realized that, I'm not a star type. I'm not a, like a front man and, could enjoy all this shit and just, it's like Kurt Cobain or Mick Jagger. I'm not that type of, I'm just a human just who loves writing music and just, the energy. So every night, like for example, we had these stadium shows in Las Vegas last April. Yeah. It was 4, but like every night is a challenge. It's like same set list. It's like maybe the same flow, sort of little different, but just like you said, that moment, like after we finished the first 3 beginning songs, and then we, take out the earphones, and then like we're just like, we're fucking back. It's like that's like everybody shouting out. At that moment, that's when I really gets all the nerves, and like there's a different me persona for the next 2 hours and a half. But before that, from the rehearsal and even in the plane, I got really nervous and like so responsible because I really am aware of the stories that fans buy the tickets and they come from Brazil, from Japan, Korea, like from everywhere. They just come there for just that one night. So it feels me like I have to pay back, I have to I have to offer them the best night ever in their lives. So it's a mess and it's a too much energy. But I'm a human and I really get nervous and I really sometimes get depressed by and even get swallowed by all the energies. But I'm trying and I try to deal with it because I'm a human and I love the music. I love their love because I think love is really happening when we give somebody, not we take.
Yeah.
So I think it's more closer to the real love, I guess, personally. So I just want to give them back. They brought us from just a small city in Korea all the way back to the heart of this music industry, Las Vegas, LA, New York. Me having an interview with Pharrell, it could happen because of fans all over the world. I'm just always grateful and I just don't want to disappoint them. How do you position yourself? Like, you're a producer, you may be a rapper, you may be a singer, you may be a CEO, father, a husband. Like, I'm of course the name Pharrell explains everything, but except that how will you define yourself?
I don't know. I mean, I'm a public servant first.
Public servant.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that word.
Yeah. And when you serve the public, you're doing
something for public.
Yeah, and that's God's will. I'm a believer.
Oh, you're a believer.
Yeah, I believe the universe is real. For me, God is the universe. We're in the universe. And then, again, being a public servant, being, a father, a husband, and then music is like everything for me because music's the skeleton key that's opened up every door.
Still music.
It's like the center of everything because without that, I wasn't able to do all the stuff that I'm able to do. And then I definitely have my struggles with having a lack of a sense of purpose, I think.
When?
Right around 2005, when I put out In My Mind.
In My Mind.
I just felt like,
right after that?
As soon as it didn't do what I wanted it to do, I mean, culturally, it made an impression, but it didn't do it egotistically. It didn't perform the way I wanted it to, chart-wise. Like, it just didn't do what I was used to at that time, and that really hit me hard. So that made me start to think about like purpose and things having real, true DNA and not just aesthetic perversion, but like real, true, like meaning and something that could be meaningful to people, but at the same time still fun. And I've always loved a girl, so that was always going to be a part of it. But so I understand what that is. I know what it's like to hit that place in your career, and for whatever reason, and you guys are doing fine. But I think, from what I'm hearing and what I'm understanding, you guys hit a place where you were like, what are we doing? Who are we? Are we who we said we were?
Right.
And as you think about who you are and you think about what you mean and what your intentions are, it's like also kind of determining who you want to be. I mean, how's that feel? Like, where are you in that process right now? Because you're working on a solo record, right?
Yes, like 90% of the work is done.
Okay.
I've released some mixtape as a one of the member of the band, but I think it was just like experiments. I think this time it's maybe my official first solo album.
Okay.
That I could feel enough.
Okay.
I don't know it's gonna be like I don't know if I would feel like you after my mind or not, but I think it'll happen after when I release it. Yeah. So I'm just dependent on the time, but it's been just like 10 years after we had our debut as a team. So K-pop is all about the band and the groups. And actually, I told you, I personally started my career as a rapper and as a poet. Yeah. So that was a tricky part actually, because the K-pop is like a mix. Yeah. It's like the mix of American pop music, all the visuals and the choreos and social medias and stuff. It's really intense and really hectic. So it has some pros and cons of its own. So after 10 years, I think it was not our intention, but we took it. But we actually became a sort of a social figure. So a K-pop band going to have a speech at the UN or meeting the presidents. It's like I think I was really confused that I'm what am I, like a diplomat or what? So yeah. I was just a small rapper and lyricist when I was young, like from the scratch. So so it was 10 years really intense as a team, and I actually was in charge like almost all of the interviews and representing the team like in front of the other members. That was my stuff, I guess, role. Yeah. So I think I got really I don't know, like, I gotta stop this for a bit. Yeah. I gotta shut it down and just fall from it away and then just see what's going on. Making my mind really calm down. Yeah. And then I think so that's how I got to concentrate on my just solo. And these days I really have been thinking about the 15 when I first listened to you. The first feeling and the vibe and the reason why I started, why I chose music to for my whole life, I guess. So when I started my music, I was like 14, and now I'm like 28. So it's like just the half. It's like it's like way shorter than you. So I'm in that process. So it's really tricky and confusing, and I just don't know what's going to happen. So if you could give me any advices, because you were in the band and you are in the band, and you done the band. It's different from the K-pop, but you've done a lot of projects, like of course NERD, Neptunes, and of course your solo. Yeah. So, like any thoughts about
being in the Neptunes, being in NERD, and having a solo record really helped me, because you do one thing, then you take a break. You do another thing, then you take a break. You do another thing, then
switch
you take
modes.
A break. Yeah, and it allows me to like put on different hats and put on different masks. So I understand that, and I know like having that departure is gonna make it really fresh for you. I think it's good for you to do that, because then when you come back to it, to the group, the team. I think it's gonna be, to the team, I think it's gonna be super fresh. You're gonna have a whole lot of ideas. I would just say continue to move forward, continue to be curious, and don't put any kind of necessary pressure on what it is that you do by saying, no absolutes, like, oh, I will never do music again, or I will never, I wouldn't do any of that. I would just...
No nevers.
No nevers. Just stay along for the ride. Just keep going.
Cruising.
Yeah, and just see where you end up, because it's really interesting.
Thank you.
Nah, thank you.
It was a bless.
Pleasure's mine.
I really like that beat. Okay, so like the stuff they talked about, like, one, it was about producing and writing. Two was about how your personal life, like, do you think of the way you identify, you know, as a musician, a singer, a rapper, or a father, or this and that, you know. There's a multitude of stuff they talked about, which was really interesting. One, Pharrell's a lot more humble than I thought he'd be.
Interesting. He doesn't come off as somebody that's big-headed or not.
No, but he should. The amount of singles that dude has done.
He could easily.
I mean, and if I can be honest, tried not to say anything about it, but his outfit, I get the reason why he was wearing leather galoshes and a jacket and then hot pants.
Shiny ass kneecaps.
Okay, so the outfit does look like it was worn by someone who is hyper pretentious, but you know, Pharrell, I mean, he's had so many singles that were like huge. Like,
I mean, just the Minions and Despicable Me is just that series alone.
I mean, Happy.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of stuff he's produced for other artists that has went crazy. Like, for instance, I did not know that the mystical Shake Your Ass.
Yeah, I didn't know that was him.
I didn't know that was him.
That was way back when.
Shake your ass. Watch yourself.
Tell me what you're working with.
It makes perfect sense though, because if you did put like a Temptations person singing that more, it would exactly sound more like James Brown, honestly. Shake your ass. Watch yourself. Like, that's more James Brownish, but yeah, I mean, I did not know that was him at all. And that was so long ago. Yeah. But yeah, I knew RM was going to be humble, because I know RM is humble. All the stuff they've done, all the stuff they've created, all the attention they've gotten, they should be monsters, but they're not. They're some of the nicest people in the world. And I'm not saying that just because you get a lot of attention that you become a monster. I'm just saying that it's
much easier.
Yeah, it's highly likely for that to happen because there's enough distance between you, and you create enough distance because you're freaked out that many people know you or try to connect to you. But as he was saying on there, he was like, you know, I feel like I owe them. So I want to put on the best performance I can, because to pay that back, that respect and that love, you know? And I was like, damn, RM, that's a perfect way to explain that. Like, that's a great way to explain that, because that's the way I've always felt with music. Now, if you have somebody who comes up to you and treats you as though you're like an object, then that's blatantly obvious that person is there. Like, literally, if you have a fan come up, grab you and be like, hey, I want your autograph, and they bring you 50 copies of something to autograph, that's an opportunist trying to make money. That's not selling. Yeah, that's not a fan.
That's when you just mess up the autograph on all of them. There you go. Sign the wrong names.
Burt Baccarat, like just some weird name that Burt Baccarat. I heard that on an Austin Powers movie. I'm like, yeah. But no, it's just like you have to stay humble, otherwise you will become a monster.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect Pharrell. I mean, I didn't expect Pharrell to be like a pretentious douchebag, but I didn't expect him to be that humble and connected to like reality. The outfit made me think something different. I'm sorry. It's the outfit. It's just a hot leather. I mean, maybe it's because we're in Texas right now and it's been 100 degrees every single day for months.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it rains for 8 hours. What degree is it now? 98. With how much humidity? 500%. We're cooking. But yeah, no, the conversation was amazing, because I honestly didn't think it was going to be good because there's another video that we're going to watch. It's an interview, and I think that one's going to be pretty good. It's a lot longer, but I didn't expect this interview to be actually really intuitive. I kind of felt like it was just going to be one person interviewing the other person, an idol or something like that, you know?
Okay.
So I didn't know that, like, yeah. I did like the fact that Pharrell was like, You know, the first time I met you, I said, let's go write music. I'm like, now I know Pharrell's a real musician because that's exactly what a real musician would do. Oh, we're at this famous event with stuff going on.
Yeah, let's leave.
Yeah, let's use this opportunity to leave this place we're supposed to stay and go write some cool songs. Like, that's a musician right there. Is where it doesn't matter about the pomp and the events and the fame or anything like that. A real musician is someone who's about the art, who's about the craft, who's about the learning and the honing of it. And I also, because I know more about RM than I do Pharrell. Like, I know who Pharrell was, and I haven't really looked at any interviews he's done or anything like that before. I know a lot of the music, yes. Not all of it, obviously, because I was surprised by the mystical connection. I did not know he produced that thing. I feel like an idiot. I should have known that. But watching him talk about how, which by the way, RM did ask some really good questions. Like that, obviously it's because that's what he's wanted people to ask him.
Yeah.
It was probably a self-fulfilling prophecy. It was like, just ask the questions no interviewers ever asked. But he talked about how, you write for what the song needs. Mm-hmm. And the thing that what I've experienced with most of the writing and producing I've done in my life is that it's not always that way. A lot of people have an idea of what they're trying to do or what they're trying to emulate. And then they're like, this is what we need to do. This is the game plan. I'm like, why not just let's go off the cuff. Let's experiment. Let's play with some stuff. Well, no, we really just don't. We don't have the time to do it. Can we just do this? Not going to sound as good. It's going to be boring. Well, why do you think that? Because we've done it 50 million times. When you're in your comfort zone all the time, you never experience anything new. You're just repeating the same shit.
That's why even with our music, our second album we put out, I was like, I want to find a bunch of people to produce for us because we were doing the producing. And then after a while, it's like, all right, well, this sounds like something I would produce. Yeah. But let's take our style and put it on top of something that somebody else produced. All of those ended up being our best songs. Yeah. All of them. Because it was so different. It stood out.
Yeah.
Got their attention more.
If it's the thing that bugs me sometimes is where people don't understand is like, if you have too many cooks in the kitchen, yes, that's an obvious problem. But if you have and give a little leeway to someone else to push you in a different direction. Now you know your limitations. Yeah. Hopefully as a musician.
Hopefully.
Not all the time does that happen. Yeah, I've known some people. Well, because certain producers and stuff like that, I don't know why they think they know more about your vocal. And sometimes it's like, okay, no, go really high. It's like, hey, guess what? I'm not going to be able to recreate this. I'm comfortable. I'm nice and calm. This song better be number one on every set from now on.
Can't do it second or any other number.
Yeah, and first. Plus we're doing this verse and this part in the first 5 minutes. It's not like that in the actual song. So am I going to be able to sing for 5.5 minutes before I get to that part? Because I don't think it's going to happen after 5.5 minutes. Because when you're singing outside of your actual range, you have less stability out of the range. It doesn't matter how much you practice it. I've heard a lot of singers be like, well, if you do it more often, you'll push and you'll train your voice. And I'm like, no, you have limitations, dumbass. This is just like fitness. You can't be like, oh, I'm going to ignore my body type and my genetics and my limitations. I'm going to stretch past it. Oh, what happened? I had a heart attack. Oh, I broke my leg. Like, I got nodules on my vocal cords. It's like, yeah, it's because you're incorrectly doing shit. You have limitations for a reason. The reason they're there. It's like, hey, I have fear. I'm going to overuse it or underuse it. Underuse it means you die a younger death. Overuse it means you live like a fucking mole man in the fucking basement and never leave. You have to find balance between everything, but you have to know your limitations.
I always would tell folks, like, if you sing it like that, sing it again. Yeah. Perform that same song 2 times in a row. And if you can't, change something.
Yeah.
Because I've seen a time where the crowd wanted an encore and they couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. Like his voice gave out in the middle of the song. And I was like, yeah, because that song's a little too high for you. Y'all should have just brought it down, make it a little more comfortable, change some parts.
You see people's face when that happens. And they're like, well, he's out. Energy and they're like, God. I'm like, hey, bitch, you wanted this. And my band members on stage would be like, man, what's wrong? I'm like, we wrote it too high. You know what's funny though what's funny is like half of the time that would happen is because I was playing around, experimenting, and they were like, oh, do that again. Yeah. And I'm like, no. And they're like, then don't do it to begin with. And I'm like, God, okay, fine. There's a difference between playing around and fucking up. But yeah, it was just, I don't know, man. I mean, what they talked about, and a multitude of different steps of what they talked about, you know, being able to be humble while dealing with that, while dealing with the amount of attention you could get. It's more energy. About, and the energy. It's more, and I like that he was like, you know, you need to take a break. And Pharrell was like, you know, I've got, you know, NERD, Neptunes, and then I'm doing my solo stuff. So it's like, do this, take a break, do this, take a break, do this, take a break. And RM and the rest of them, they do the same thing. You know, them doing their solo projects is also a break. It's something different. It's a...
Get you new ideas, refresher.
Yeah, it's a coffee bean to your nose that wipes the slate clean so you can smell something different. Yeah, or smell again properly. But it's that kind of... it's that kind of thing that really kind of molds an artist. And especially, I mean... There's very few musicians who have experienced what RM has experienced.
Yeah.
Like Pharrell's experienced a little bit of that, like he said.
I don't think he's gotten to the billions of plays.
Well, he's gotten to a lot of plays. I mean, he's done a lot of songs for other artists. And those are some of his best, like he said, you know, because he's pushing for someone else and producing it that way. Which, by the way, Pharrell, I got to give you credit for admitting to that. No one would admit that ever. Like, I make better songs when I'm doing it for other artists. Yeah. Like no one would ever admit that.
Kind of almost accidental when it happened.
Yeah. And or they wouldn't typically admit that.
They wouldn't.
No. No.
They wouldn't.
It's that fame thing, ego thing, you know.
Like I did this on purpose. It was all written out that way. Before I had the beat, I knew everything that was going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, some of the best things to ever be invented were accidentally invented. So got to give credit where credit's due. But yeah, I mean, RM and BTS and all of them dealing with the amount of fame and like that need that they have, put out new stuff, put out this, you know. But ARMY's always nice. They're not really like, I mean, there's a percentage of ARMY that's of course psychotic, but that's a very small percentage. And ARMY knows that because ARMY has told us multiple times, listen, don't pay attention to that. That's the funny thing on our comments is like, you get some crazy weirdo that makes a comment and then there's 30 more comments like, dude, ignore him. He's just an ass. He's not one of us.
He's adopted.
Yeah, he's adopted. Yeah, that's perfect. And I'm always like, well, thank you guys for watching, you know. Sorry, this guy's trying to be a poopy pants and ruin the party. Make your poopy pants. Which now you're going to have someone comment and be like, not poopy pants. Was I talking about you? I think you were.
You said my name in the very beginning of the video. No, we didn't.
You said my name. My name is Joel. No, that's my name, dummy. Oh, my name's Joel too, and I think you were talking about me. Yeah. No, it's I really like this, and they're talking about their upcoming collab. So I wonder when this was put out. Well, I don't know when it was put out because obviously that's all jibber jabber. That was when it was put on the.
Yeah, it's got a little dot.
Yeah,
there's more. You can't see it.
I assume it's in the past couple years though, because you said remember when we met in 2018, so it's since 2018.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, it's been a couple years past that, so I'm pretty sure it was like 22, 20.
Well, maybe we can try to find their collab for BTS run.
It's probably in the list.
Oh yeah.
That woman made an extensive list, and I want to say your name, but I don't, because I'm afraid that people are, I don't know, gonna swat you or something. I don't know. People are weird. I mean, we're protected because we've got like redundancy systems, but yeah. No, I think this is a really good interview. Like, it was a really good interview. It was kind of like that way they do that actor studio thing where it's actors interview actors type thing. That's what it felt like. But
it was more of a conversation versus I got my clipboard. Okay, what about this? Okay, what about that?
And Pharrell was down to earth, and RM was down to earth. I mean, they're two down to earth dudes who were just talking about producing and writing music and about their love for music, and they gotta give it up for them. You know, they're doing what they love. They enjoy it. You know.
I remember those moments.
Like when you enjoyed writing, or you mean
no, when we were just touring and like we actually
making money
just
from what you were doing.
Music, yeah,
you were living off what you were doing.
Yeah. In the end, it didn't end up being enough to sustain it, especially once we had kids. But yeah,
I got kids to feed.
But as far as like just that energy off the crowd, because I remember we did a show in Huntsville. We had like 150 people or something. And this place was not big. Like, it showed at a show.
Like one of those smaller places, like the pubs or whatever.
Yeah, like 40, 50 people looks like a lot. And I would go through when other people were performing, and I'm like head counting because I'd always want to see how many people are there. And I looked at that and I was like, oh, yeah. And then when we did the songs, it's like, we're not staying on the stage. We got wireless. We're going to go in the crowd. And it was just more and more energy. And
I would have said be weary about going in the crowd thing, because I can promise you that has not ended for me very well sometimes.
Yeah, rock music.
So, yeah.
Monitors are great. If you perform and you don't have one, go get one. Spend like $100 to get something.
After that experience, I went and bought an in-ear monitor. Because I was like, I'm not doing this again. Because this has happened so many times. Even though it's been a decade of this happening, I'm like, I'm not going to spend the money on an inner ear monitor. Because those things were expensive as hell back in the day.
They probably are now.
Oh, yeah. Well, no. You can get some ones cheaper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing as like buying a lapel mic used to be. You're spending $2,000 to $3,000. You can get one for about $184 now. And it records 10 times better than those old ones.
Yeah.
So digital's changed. But yeah, man. I mean, I like this. I like this interview. It was just real and down to earth, and they're both just talking about what they love to do. And I loved what they talked about, which was like being honest, like Pharrell just being supremely honest. I haven't experienced exactly what the fuck your fan base, I don't want to make mad. I was like, wow, that is purely the case. And he's literally RM's like, no, they're cool. It's okay. Yeah. So, it was a very honest interview, and it was very interesting what they think. And yeah, I liked it. What about you? Of course, we've been talking about it this entire time. I'm sorry, I'm an idiot. Whatever. Okay. Well, you guys, I hope you're having a great week. We're going to start this BTS tear, but we're going to have a couple things sprinkled in every now and then. Some comedy bits and things like that. The only reason we're doing it is just to break up the monotony, because I don't want to just do 168 videos. That's how many there are. 168 videos of BTS straight, because other people that might watch the channel will be like, it's just a K-pop BTS channel? What is happening here? Because eventually we're going to run out of BTS stuff to look at.
Are you sure? Aren't they recording right now?
I don't know. Yeah, they're probably recording a whole time live series and 4 movies and 16 TV shows, and
I hear they're starting a podcast too. All of it.
Dude, that'd be dope. BTS podcast. It'd just be them talking about crazy moments in their history and career, and you're like, well, I've been around for like 13 years. And you're like, yeah, they've done more in 13 than people have done in their lifetimes.
Yeah.
I mean, just putting out music, interviews, live events, shows, tours. I mean, good Lord. In just 10, 13 years, so much they have done. 10 years, I guess it would be, because it was 2000. No, that would be 20 years. 2013, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Anyways, so they're all like, I want to see the future and be like, I want to see BTS at 35. Curious who's going to be married and have kids, or a kid. Who do you think would be?
I'm gonna go with V.
Yeah,
He seems like an old soul.
yeah, you're so right about that. Yeah, it's V. It's definitely V.
Like, yeah, man, I'm gonna bring my son.
He's gonna be married and have a kid, maybe 2, and he's just gonna be like, dude, he'd be a cool dad. He'd be a cool dad. Because he'd be that dad. He'd be my dad. That's what it would be. Because my dad was that cool type, that cool, calm, collected type. No, don't actually be my dad. No, much older than you. But yeah, I think it'd be dope. Yeah, he's that type of personality where he would make the kid feel embarrassed by the time he hit 13 or 14 or whatever. Because you got to think about it. Army, you got to think about this. This is the way life is like in 10 years, 15, 20 years, you're going to have people who look at what was the most popular, cool, impressive music or musicians, and you're going to have kids look at that and be like, well, that's old stuff. And you're going to feel like, what?
What did he say?
Seriously? That's old? It's old stuff. I'm not grandpa. And it's like, grandpa.
2000s.
Feels weird.
In the 2000s or was it the 90s or now the oldies or something?
It's just weird. It's just super weird. Now,
It's
BTS has a large demographic though. I mean, they got people in their 60s and 70s jamming them. So they have a large demographic, but I know when things change, and it might be like 10-year-olds, their favorite music is deathcore, metalcore, or some weird name for something. And they're looking at everything else and be like, that's stupid. Like, that's just what kids do, man. They knock anything that came before.
They know everything.
Yeah, at least like RM and BTS respected who came before. Like, especially V. V loves that old school. But yeah, anyways, you guys have a great day, great week. And we'll see you on Monday.